Should probably go ahead and start. Should I just start whenever? Okay, I think we're going to get started. If everybody that wants to hear about social media can go ahead and get seated. All right, I am Whitney Weiser Savage, and before we start, how many new competitors do we have in here? New as in never competed or competed once or twice? Okay, so a lot. Are there any IFBB pros in here? Nice. Any sponsored athletes? No sponsored athletes? Kind of? Okay. All right. If there was, I was going to have you chime in, but since there's not, this is a good talk for you today. So, before we talk about anything, I just want to clear up one thing. This is not a talk about how to become an influencer or going viral or chasing followers or anything like that. It's about how opportunities will actually start to find you when you get clear on who you are, what you want, and what you're putting out into the world via social media. So, some of you have competed before, I was going to talk about post-show blues. So I don't know if any of you have heard about post-show blues before. A few people have. It's a very common experience in competing. And it comes from you spend weeks, months, even years preparing for one day, show day, the way that you train, the way that you set up your schedule, your meal prepping, you're eating around the clock at certain times every single day. And so all this time leading up to the show date comes and goes, and then afterwards you can feel a little lost. Like, how do you get back to normal life after that? So that's why this conversation, even though, yes, it is about how to use your social media intentionally, it's not just about social media. It's about learning how to use your fitness journey as part of a bigger picture of your life, not just the finish line. Because competing alone isn't something that you can rely on long term. No matter what you think, you can't make a living doing it, and you're not going to get rich when you turn pro. So you turn pro on Saturday night, and then you still go to work Monday morning. So it's not something that you can make a living doing, and that's why there has to be more to it than that. But social media is one of the main tools that either helps you build that or quietly works against you or serves as a distraction. And it doesn't make the opportunities, but it will open the doors for them. So, I've been in this industry for several years. I started competing in 2009 in the bikini division. So this was the first year that they had the bikini division. And, hold on one second. I see my notes. So I've been on every side of the sport. So competing, judging, expediting. I have 2 shows that I promote now. I've been on every side of the stage that you can imagine. And social media looked very different back in 2009 when I started competing. There were no Instagram reels or stories or personal brand conversations at all, really. But the part that is important is that I was a sponsored athlete early on. Like, even before I became successful, even before I competed at the Olympia, even right before I turned pro. So it's really not important that you do well competing to be a sponsored athlete or get opportunities, because brands really just care about how you are going to represent them. And just your fitness lifestyle is usually what they like and what they want. So my degree is in marketing and business administration. I worked in the corporate world for several years, and that's probably what helped me get a lot of sponsorships, is because I knew how businesses thought and how they evaluated peoples and brands and things like that. And I understood that they needed to make some kind of ROI, which is a return on investment, to sponsor an athlete. And so I've watched athletes just approaching brands just the complete wrong way, just in a very self-absorbed and self-focused way, like, hey, can you sponsor me? What can you do for me? Instead of approaching brands from an aspect of, hey, this is what I can do for you. I love your product. I'm, a loyal customer, and I can share it with my following. So we just need to flip that mindset, and I'm going to give you some tools and strategies to be able to do that. So when I talk about attracting opportunities through social media, I'm not speaking from theory, I'm speaking from a real lived experience. And if you guys ever have questions throughout this, feel free to stop me, ask your questions, and I'm going to try to stop at the end of every section just to make sure you don't have questions. But feel free to just raise your hand and ask your questions. So, who in here has ever built a brand? A couple people? Okay. It's actually a trick question because you all have. Social media, whether you like it or not, is your digital first impression. And every coach, brand, sponsor, anybody you even go into business with is going to look you up immediately, not eventually, immediately. And in about 10 seconds, they're going to decide, do I like this person? Do I trust this person? Do they align with me and my values? Do they like what I like? Do they provide any type of value that I'm interested in? And would I want to work with them? So that all happens at a very subconscious level in about 10 seconds. So if you're sitting here thinking, like, I don't have enough followers, or I don't look the part of a competitor to position myself as a competitor yet, or I'll worry about this later when I become successful in competing, just want you to relax, because you don't need to be perfect. You can start exactly where you are, and I'm going to show you kind of how to do that. So you don't need a massive following. One second. You don't need a massive following. You just need clarity, consistency, and character, not numbers. And you guys can all start that right where you are. So before we talk about how to use social media, what to post, when to post it, all that kind of stuff, we got to talk about the most important piece, which is identity and personal branding. So you want to think about, what do you want to be known for? And like, what do you want to be remembered for? What kind of legacy and impact do you want to leave behind? And you probably are thinking, why in the world are we thinking that deep on this? But that's really where you have to start. And I heard Jack up here talking about your why and remembering your why in the last talk. And that's actually very important, because people are going to resonate with you on an emotional level. So you have to have a strong why, and defining your brand is really like a journey of self-discovery, as crazy as it sounds. It can be difficult, time-consuming, and uncomfortable, but that's just like competing is. Like, during every prep, you'll learn a lot about yourself, mentally and physically. So, oops, I didn't tell you guys all the questions. So here we go. So the law of attraction, if you haven't heard of this, it is basically you attract whatever you are and whatever you're putting out into the world. So whatever you are, that's the kind of opportunities, brands, things like that, and people that you're going to attract in your life. So a few other questions, and you can take a picture, screenshot, or whatever. I don't expect you guys to answer all these questions right now, but it's just something to think about over time. So what do you stand for? What are your beliefs? What is important to you? What are you passionate about? What frustrates you? You can even use what frustrates you. And things like that. So you're just going to think about this stuff over time, because this is all going to play into the part of what your personal brand is. And then that's going to go into your branding guidelines. We're not going to go in super detail on that today, but we are going to just kind of, I'm going to give you an idea of what your brand guidelines would be and what they would look like. So an example of like why your personal brand and what you put out on social media, why that needs to align with your real life, your personal life. Let's say I'm working in corporate America, but my goal is to move into the fitness industry and to be a health and fitness coach, something along those lines. Then I need to start positioning myself as a health and fitness expert. I use the term expert, I don't want to say loosely, but you don't have to know everything to position yourself as an expert. You just have to know one thing more than whoever you're trying to help to be able to help them. So when I say position yourself as an expert, even if you're putting out tips on drink your water, you need to drink your water today. That's really hard for some people. You could help people by like your strategy of drinking water in a day or something like that. So that's what I mean when I say position yourself as an expert. So again, there's 6 parts of your brand guidelines. The first one is defining your mission and vision, and we talked about that a little bit. And when I first started personal branding myself, it's a little bit easier if any of you have a business in here to think of your mission and your goals for your business. Like, it's a little bit easier to think of that. When you think about your mission and vision for yourself, it's like, it sounds kind of corny at first, but you really have to do that. So we'll start with a business mission and vision. So the NPC IFBB Nashville Fit Show is one of the shows that I run. It's one of the all-female shows in the world. So our tagline or mission statement is to empower confidence and strength in women through fitness and community. So I have a very strong why and my story behind starting that show, which resonates very deeply with women. So I'm not going to get into detail on that today. That's for another talk, another time. But that's just an example of a mission statement. So an example for myself personally could be I help female competitors build their online presence so they can attract aligned opportunities to maximize their competitive journey beyond the stage. Let's look at some more examples so you know what I mean. So another example for a nutrition educator could be I help athletes understand nutrition so they can fuel performance, recover faster, and avoid burnout. And then one more example for a wellness and mindset coach would be I help women overcome self-doubt and build daily confidence so they can succeed in fitness and in life. Okay, so that's step one. Step two, your target audience. You want to define your target audience, who you're trying to reach in detail. And if you're trying to reach everybody or target everyone, then you're going to reach no one. So you can't just say, oh, I want to help everyone. You're not going to reach anybody that way. You have to define, like, is it male or female or both? Age group, like, what is this person? What is this person like? What is their, or what do they want? What do they want? What are their goals in life? And then what are their biggest fears, pain points, challenges? And then how can you help them eliminate their fears? And then what makes you unique, like, or whatever you're offering, and why should they care? So people are always looking for, like, why something matters to them and why they should care. So you have to lead with whatever you have that's going to help them, whether it's fitness knowledge or whether it's a product or a service. That's what you want to lead with, but that's why you want to define your target audience. I'll give you one more example. So let's say if you're a posing coach. I think there's probably a couple posing coaches in here. Who are you trying to reach? Are you trying to reach first-time, newer competitors, or are you trying to reach seasoned competitors that are maybe trying to get to the next level and turn pro? So you want to define that. But let's go with the newer competitor example. So what is their goal? To be successful on stage. What is their biggest fear? So the biggest fear that most women have, and this is just because I've worked with women for a long time, is looking like they don't belong. Or tripping and falling on stage. That's probably the second most biggest fear they have. But getting up there and just looking clueless, like they don't belong, or physique-wise looking like they don't belong. So I would want to address their biggest fear and tell them how I could help. So I want to educate them about the sport. That's how you help them look like they belong up there. Let them know how the judging works, what the judges are looking for specifically, how they're scored, helping to show their physique and help them feel confident, like, in themselves on stage. So you can instill confidence in them by making sure they're ultra prepared for the stage. So that's the kind of messaging you would want to put out there. Which brings me to number 3, your brand message and your brand look and message. We're not going to go in detail on your brand image and look today, but basically it's the image or perception that the target audience forms about a brand in their mind. This goes into, like, your colors, your fonts, like all that kind of stuff that you use, which does need to be very streamlined, but we're not going to go into detail on that today. So your brand message, though, like, this goes back to what do you want to be known for? And that's something that you would really need to think about and really define it. So the brain spends about 30% of its time daydreaming. We're programmed, like I was talking about just a second ago, to scan information and weed out everything that is not relevant for our survival. The key is to emotionally resonate with people so they feel like they're part of your story. So what is their problem? Invite them into your story. If you're struggling with this, you could say something like that. If you're struggling with X, Y, and Z, This is how I overcame X, Y, and Z. So you always start with the problem. Does anybody have any questions so far? I know I'm going through this super fast, but I want to cover a lot of information. But please, if you have any questions. All right, so number 4, then we can finally get into the type of content that you're needing to post to help your target audience and accomplish the goals and the mission that you have in your life or for your brand. So you've got to have a plan. I don't know, social media can feel like a full-time job, and I'm sure most of you feel that, and so you probably end up just getting overwhelmed and then not posting at all. So it is very overwhelming, and it used to overwhelm me and give me a lot of anxiety because I didn't have a plan. I knew I needed to be posting content because I was a sponsored athlete. I was expected to do a certain amount, but I would go like 3 or 4 days without posting, and then I would have like writer's block and no creativity because I was like, I gotta post something, like I don't know what to post. So that's what we're gonna talk about now. So the type of content, you wanna think about educating your audience, educating and serving. You wanna do that at least 80% of the time. So give your audience helpful information, tips, places where they can find resources to help them in their journey. And then only about 20% of your content should be selling them. Whether you're really selling anything or not. It could be posing coaching, it could be products and services, it could be anything. So people use social media primarily to stay informed, to be entertained, or to stay connected. So you wanna make sure you're meeting that need. Okay, and this is how you get started with that. So content pillars, also referred to as content buckets sometimes. Maintaining a consistent and unique brand image is very key on social media. So by determining your content pillars, which are the key topics that you're going to create posts around, you can create a very consistent theme with your content. So these topics are going to be the foundation of everything that you'll post, and you'll ideally want to have between 3 and 5. Any more is just way too much, and any less, you're going to run out of things to post usually. So 3 to 5, and I'm going to show you, there's lots of different ways that you can come up with your content pillars. I'm going to show you one way, and that is this method. So you take your goals plus your audience needs. So now you're going to look back at like what your passions are and things like that. So like what topics really light you up? Like what do you like to talk about? What could you go on and on about all day long? Second is your expertise. So what do others come to you for? What do others ask your advice on? Like if you're not sure where to start, that's where to start. Like what do others ask you about? And then your audience needs. Like what does your ideal follower want or need to hear from you? And then your pillars are going to come where these 3 things connect. So let's look at an example of a female competitor. So her passions might be fitness training and bodybuilding, healthy recipes, helping women feel confident, sharing motivation and mindset. And then her expertise might be competition prep, posing, workouts, nutrition basics, mental discipline, routine building, balancing fitness with work and family life. And then what does her audience need to hear? Tips for getting stage ready, encouragement during tough prep days, simple, healthy meal ideas, or real, relatable behind the scenes of the journey. So if these are her passions, expertise, and audience needs, what could her content pillars be? And there's so many different right answers. It could be really anything. But we're gonna say, okay, competition prep and training is 1. Nutrition and recipes is 2. Mindset and motivation is 3, and then lifestyle and balance is 4. So these are going to be her 4 content pillars. So some examples of things that she could post to fit within these. She could share her favorite glute workout. This would fit under training. She could post a 10-minute high-protein breakfast idea. This would go under nutrition. She could talk about pushing through on her low-energy prep days. This would fit under mindset. And then she could also just show a family day at the park during her off season. So then she's incorporating lifestyle in her off season. So some off-brand examples of things that she would not want to post is just posting a random rant about politics. These don't fit into her content pillars at all. Sharing fashion hauls with no tie-in to her fitness journey. Now, she could do this if it was workout apparel or something. She could fit it in some kind of way, but she wouldn't want to do just a random fashion haul. Reviewing the latest tech gadgets. That doesn't fit anywhere in her content pillars. Or talking about random celebrity gossip. So when you post off-brand, just random stuff like that, it really confuses your audience. So you want to try to stay as on-brand as possible. And then what you could do is just sit down. I'm going to talk about content batching and go in detail on that in just a second. But what you would want to do is you could sit down and just start listing content ideas, like maybe 3 or 4 under each of her content pillars. I'll read through a few of these, but not all of them. So under her first competition prep and training pillar, 5 mistakes I made in my first prep. That could be a carousel post. My top 3 glute exercises for stage shape. That could be a reel. And then under her next nutrition and recipes, a quick high protein snack idea. That could be a carousel or a reel. And then my go-to healthy breakfast. That could just be a static photo with a caption or a recipe in the caption. Her mindset and motivation pillar, what to do when you feel like quitting prep. That could be anything. That could be a reel, that could be a carousel, that could be just a photo and a caption. And then lifestyle and balance, weekend reset routine. That could just be like a photo dump carousel. How to balance prep with work family life. That could be a caption. This is what you want to start to do though. Like, there's no right or wrong. You could make almost any post a carousel or a reel or a static post with a caption, but you want to start like making a plan for that. So there's no right or wrong, but when you have a list of like 10 to 20 ideas like this, it makes creating content a lot quicker and easier. Question? Sorry, is it better to have what? Yes. Yes. Yes, yes. You don't want to post all reels or all carousels or all just static image posts. You do want to switch it up and have a variety. Now, whether it's like, 33% each of your posts, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be like that structured, but you do want to switch it up because some different audiences will respond better to different types of posts. So just putting things out there and then seeing how they do. Experiment. That's the best way to find out what content is going to work best for you and your audience, is to just experiment. Good question. Okay. Number 5, what platform is your audience on? So are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Are they on YouTube? This is a pretty easy one, but you just want to identify this because it's going to be different types of content for different platforms. Because YouTube, of course, that's going to be more long-form videos, like a day in the life or a vlog style. Instagram is going to be much shorter videos, like reels, just quick tips, things like that. So just kind of identify where your audience is, and if you don't know, then just start with whatever platform that you know and like the best. Okay, and finally, number 6, execution plan. So this is basically how are you going to create the content and get it out to the world. So I mentioned content batching. So content batching is creating a lot of content, like images, captions, videos, whatever it's going to be, at one time so it can all be posted later. You can do this a week at a time, a month at a time, whatever works best for you. I'll say starting out, it's very overwhelming to try to do a month at a time, but doing like a week at a time, and when I say a week at a time, I mean like 3 or 4 posts. You don't have to post every day. Whatever you can be consistent at posting, that's what you want to commit to. If you can't commit to posting 5 times a week, don't set that as your goal. Like maybe 2 times a week starting out, and then once you do that for a while, then maybe increase from there. But whatever you can be consistent at doing, that's what you want to do. And then repurposing content, I'll talk about more in just a second, but it's basically content recycling. It's recycling posts you've already made and just putting them in different forms to post them again. So here's an example of some content that I did on my Wiser Prep page. So I do prep and posing coaching, I host events, things like this. It's all about like how to be successful on stage. And I had an idea of, okay, there were 5 things that I heard from judges, critiques, like more than anything last year. And so I decided to make a whole series out of it. This could have been one post that I just listed in the caption, here's the top 5 feedback from judges. But why do that when I can make like 10 posts out of that? So I started with one post, so the top 5 judges' critiques, I just kind of vaguely mentioned them in that video. And then 1 through 5, so more muscle, fuller glutes, better conditioning, better posing, better suit fit, I went into a little bit more detail on all of those videos. So I wrote the video script or outline for all of these. I didn't do all of this at one time because I have a child and you just don't get that much time. So I would just work on it when I could. And, all right, hold on. I think I go into detail on this. Hold on one second. Do I have it? Yes, okay. Okay, so basically what I did was I listed the ideas that I had. Then I wrote out the video scripts and outlines that I was going to use, and I wrote the captions. I kind of did all that at one time. Then I recorded the videos. I didn't record all videos at one time, but I did it twice. And what you do, all you have to do is change your shirt and maybe switch up your hair just a little bit, and it looks like you filmed it on a completely separate day. So there's no way that I would want to do all of these on completely separate days. That would, I gotta work too. So you gotta be efficient. So I recorded the videos one day, I edited them whenever I had time, and then I created the covers for them in Canva, which I'll show you in just a second. And then I scheduled out the posts. So I made 7 posts within maybe a couple hours, not all at one time, but just spread out. It was probably a couple hours, instead of this could take 7 or more hours if you did it all at one time. So it's just about being efficient. And then I also turned some of these into even more posts. So one of the biggest judges' critiques this past season, your suit bottoms are sitting too low. So I made this into a carousel post. I made, let me see, this one up here, how to do an effective hip thrust, and that plays into number 2, which was fuller, bigger glutes. Let's see what it's going to show you. Yeah, but basically I just made a whole ton of posts out of one really idea. So that's what content batching and repurposing content kind of looks like. And then just for another example on the Nashville Fit Show page, this is kind of an old example that I had, but something that I always do is I post the NPC judging criteria for each of the female divisions, because one of my main missions for the Fit Show is to educate new competitors. So new competitors need to know what they're actually being judged on. So I put out what the judges are scoring you on a lot. I do this every year. All I have to do is replace the picture of whoever is that year's Miss Olympia. So I use this content every single year. I just replace the image. So that's a quick one. Let's see, Fit Show Prep Series. So all of these over here, I basically turned this NPC prep checklist of hire a prep coach, get an NPC card, all of these things. I turned them all into just reels, and I didn't have to talk for these. You don't always have to do a face to camera. These are that's literally all it is, and it's just some flashing lights and a video, and that still counts as a reel. And then I explain more in the caption. So I'm basically just repurposing the NPC prep checklist over to the Fit Show Prep Series. Let's see. How many questions? Questions. Okay, I'm just showing you guys how to schedule a post. Does everybody know how to schedule a post, or do you want to know how to schedule a post on Instagram? You just go under your advanced settings, which these are old screenshots. Hold on, I have something else to show you guys. I don't know where it went. I don't think some of my slides downloaded properly. But what I was going to tell you about is the tools that I use to make these images. And the first one is Canva. If you don't have Canva yet, get Canva. You can do anything on this. I taught myself how to use Adobe Illustrator, which is the hardest design software to possibly use. But you can use Canva. You can do everything on Canva. They have templates for you. There is a free version. If you buy the pro version, it's only like $50 a year. And everything that you need is on there. So you can make presentations. I made this presentation in Canva. You can make posts for Instagram, cover photos for YouTube. Just basically everything you need is right there. And then something else that I use, which I don't have a picture of it because my slide didn't download, but Trello is a project management tool, so it's also free, but you can put like your to-do task list, you can put timelines, you can put schedules, checklists in it, and this is where I put all my like content ideas. I have one card where I put all my content ideas, and then once I'm like creating it, I move it over to the next block, and then I have a schedule, social media schedule, and then I figure out, okay, I'm going to post these 3 this week, these 3 next week. Question? Mm-hmm. The Trello, Trello. It's a website and it's an app, so I use the app on my phone. And then you don't have to have any of these tools. This is just helpful to keep you organized. I also use just the Notes app on my iPhone. When I have ideas, I just keep a running list of those. Any other questions? Hold on, let me find my other slides. Okay, so that is, in a nutshell, your branding guidelines. So define your brand mission and your goals, define your target audience, like who are you trying to reach, your brand look and message, what are you messaging out, the type of content that you need, decide on a platform that you're going to post the content, and then your content creation and execution plan. So I teach an online course where I go into this stuff way more in detail, but that's like 12 hours worth of videos. So I can't cover all that in an hour, but okay, so now, why am I talking about content when I'm trying to teach you guys about attracting opportunities? Because brands will expect you to know how to create professional-ish looking content. It doesn't have to be like really professional, but it has to look good. It has to look decent. So when brands work with you, they will not give you a list of, okay, this is the content we want you to make this week. They don't do that. They expect you to be able to do this already and take the initiative to think of things to post for them, how you use their products in your everyday life, things like that. So being consistent and being able to create content is very, very important when it comes to working with brands. Let's see. Okay, now, how do you get brand partnerships? So a lot of times, just simply by posting this type of content and using hashtags and things like that, a lot of brands will find you sometimes. I think I live in Nashville, so I've used the hashtag like just Nashville Fitness, just like basic things like that before, and I've gotten opportunities, just kind of random things, like there was a trade show at the Opryland in Nashville, and Canon Camera Company, like Canon, that's a pretty big company. They needed a fitness model just to like show how this new feature of a camera worked. I just sat there all day. I got paid $1,400. I think I had to get on stage and just stand there while they showed how to use this camera for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I got paid $1,400 in one day. So just random opportunities like that will come your way when you're posting the right content. So the definition of a brand ambassador is someone hired or signed by an organization or a company to represent a brand in a positive light, and by doing so will help that brand increase their brand awareness and or increase their sales. So how to find the right brands to work with. Start with what you already use. So look at your daily and weekly routine, like supplements, gym gear, apparel, beauty products, meal prep, even local businesses. Look at that kind of stuff that you're already using, that you already like. Brands really like it when you already are a loyal user of whatever they're selling. When you can reach out and say, hey, I've been using your product for a year, it's part of my my routine already. They really like that. So start by just making a list of like, let's say 10 brands or products that you already love and you already use. So make a list of that. I was a huge advocate of Optimum Nutrition. I was a sponsored athlete with them for years. I was a paid athlete, which is kind of rare to find today. But I loved their amino energy. And so I would reach out. I had to reach out a lot of times to get that sponsorship. But by continually pursuing them, then after 4 years, it did take 4 years. Sometimes you have to follow up a lot and just be relentless about the follow-up. After 4 years, the brand manager was like, "Are you not an athlete yet?" I was like, "No." And so he signed me, and I got so many opportunities from them. They didn't pay me my first year, but I was paid monthly, a salary, just to basically create content and be a representative for them. I got to go to China twice to work the China Fit Expo for them. I got to do all kinds of things. And this is just from posting content and having a consistent brand image and consistently showing up, and that's it. They didn't care if I won. Like, I got sponsored by them before I even turned pro, so they didn't care about my status as a pro athlete, whether I went to the Olympia or not, whether I won shows or not. They didn't care about that. They just wanted a representative that would show them in a positive light and who lived a healthy lifestyle. So once you've listed kind of what you already use and you want to expand into other areas, your brand doesn't have to just be about fitness. It can be your lifestyle, your passions, what your audience loves to engage with. So maybe that's nutrition, maybe it's travel, maybe it's skincare or self-care. But by thinking of it like outside of the box like that, you can get more sponsorships. I've had a skincare line product. It was made for athletes, so it aligned perfectly. I actually just got not a sponsorship, but an opportunity for free Botox at a new laser away place opening in Nashville. Stuff like that. So some research tips. I don't think I put them up here. You could look at other influencers or fitness people kind of in your niche and look at which brands are collaborating with them. So you can do a little research just getting on Instagram and kind of like looking around, or you can go to their website and see if they have like any ambassadors or affiliates or sponsored athletes that they work with. You can also check hashtags. Like if it says sponsored, if it's a hashtag sponsored, then you know that athlete posted something like as a sponsorship for that brand. Also investigate like local opportunities. So even the little deals like that will add up, like gyms, wellness studios, small businesses. So what I do, I keep it just a running list in a notebook. You could do a notebook, a Trello card, or in your notes app. It doesn't have to be like fancy. You don't have to have apps to do all this stuff. Just somewhere where you know where it is. Just keep a running list of like ideas of brands that you want to work with. So, yeah. So if you see, like, I know a lot of you probably follow fitness competitors. So that's number one place to look. Like, look at what brands that they're working with. Use expos and events like this. Use this as leverage to look for brands. If a brand is here, then they're probably willing to invest in some type of partnership because they're already here doing promotions. This is the best kind of place to make contacts. So, does anybody have any questions on that? I know I went through that so fast. But the course that I teach is Fit for Purpose. Sorry, guys, it is for females. It's all geared toward females. But today, I went through a very basic crash course of what I already told you I do, like in 12 hours of video lessons. I'll get you in just a second. Basically, how to create content, a content idea list and templates. I give you tons of ideas. I give you a lesson in Canva. I show you how to create a media kit, which is something we didn't talk about today, but this, you'll want to have some type of, not resume, but just a media kit that shows your social platforms, what your engagement is. You'll put your following on there, although brands don't care that much about following anymore because you could have a huge number of followers and nobody engages with you. Engagement is way more important, and that's what they look for. But you want to have something that shows like basically what you've done and what your online brand is like, but that's what a media kit is. So I show you how to make one of those, how to look at your social media insights and what exactly to include in your media kit, and then how to reach out to brands, like what kind of messaging to use. Kind of like I talked about at the beginning of this, don't reach out and say, hey, can you sponsor me? Or can stuff like that. You want to reach out and tell them like why they should sponsor you. How can you help them? You always want to look at it from that perspective. And then how to negotiate with brands to get products, services, pay, things like that. So, what questions do you guys have? Mm-hmm. 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 So email is always going to be best for this type of thing. However, if you can't find an email, then you can definitely reach out on social media. Don't reach out with like your whole message or proposal. You're just reaching out to get a contact, basically. So it's definitely okay to reach out on social media, but just asking for who is the right person to talk to about this. Yeah, good question. Uh-huh. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's all up to you and what your goals are. Personally, no, I wouldn't want to do that. If a brand DMs you, then with that kind of message that you're talking about, that's usually not a real opportunity for you, especially if they're sending you to somewhere else, like, hey, message this page or do this. Then that's like, no, you have to buy something in order to get whatever they're talking about. But yeah, good question. But again, like back to your goals and everything, like if you're new and just getting started and like they're going to give you like 50% off of like workout apparel or something, if you're interested in it, sure, give it a shot. If not, then don't. So, any other questions? Yep. So that is going to be completely different for every single person. And I definitely recommend experimenting, like just in your social media, your content creation and posting plan. Make a plan though, so that you know what you're doing, and then track the results so you know if it's successful or not. Because if you're not like doing the same thing and like really tracking it, you won't know what's successful. But that's going to be completely different for every single person. So you really just have to experiment. Me, for example, most of my posts on my personal and my prep coaching page do better through the week and like midday to afternoon. But then on my show pages, they do a little bit better when I post in the morning. So, and that just took trial and error. Like I really don't pay attention to that, to be honest with you, because the algorithm is always changing. There's no way to keep up with it. So just your audience will form to like whatever you do. If you can post at 7 a.m. and that's the best time to post for you, then just do that. And your audience over time will know to expect that, and it'll work out fine. You'll still grow. But as long as you're being consistent and you're not like posting, 5 days in a row and then they don't hear from you for a month, like instead of posting 5 days in a row, maybe schedule those 5 posts out over like 3 or 4 weeks. So that's how you're going to grow. And it is tedious work. Like there's no like get a 100,000 followers quick plan. Like you have to really put in the work and be consistent over time. That's the thing. And sometimes it'll feel like you're like talking to nobody. You're putting content out. You might get like a few likes, maybe a comment here or there, and it'll feel like you're like nobody's hearing what you're saying. But over time, I promise, if you're just consistent, like it'll pay off. It really, really does. I actually haven't even tried that yet. So that's on my list to do, is to actually see what that is and see how I can make it work for me, but I actually haven't tried that yet. I've heard a lot of people have got successful off that though. I think they're getting like paid to do it, but that's usually people that already have a pretty big following. So, yeah. Somebody asked something? Oh. She was asking about trial reels. Trial reels, it's just this new thing Instagram's doing. I really don't know much about it because I haven't tried it yet. Good questions. Anybody else? A question that I usually get a lot is, if somebody already has a Instagram page and they want to start a new brand, should they start a brand new page, or should they just gradually start to switch their page over? So my answer to that question is usually, I would say just slowly transition your page over to what your new brand is, because if you already have a following, even if it's like a couple thousand people, you can still build off of that, and like the followers that don't belong there will eventually unfollow you. And I remember one other thing I was going to tell you is, like, everybody thinks that they need to go viral. Going viral should not be the goal. I've gone viral and I got a whole bunch of followers that I did not want. Like, having a big following doesn't really matter if they're not like your people and your audience. So they're slowly falling off, but it's just, my page will never show like real growth until the rest of them fall off, because they were just guys that didn't belong on my page anyway. So yeah, going viral shouldn't be the goal. Any other questions? It's a lot. I know. It is a lot, and I'm figuring it out every day. But I have 5 Instagram pages to manage, so like a show page for each show, my prep page, I do women's retreats, so that one, and then my personal brand page. So my goal is to sit down at least once a week for like 1 to 2 hours and come up with content for at least 1 page, if not 2, and then schedule it out. So I'm trying to get to where I can schedule out a month of content at a time. I'm not there yet. I can do about 2 or 3 weeks, and it keeps me caught up to the point where like there's content always being posted, at least like 3 or 4 times a week at least. So it's just, once you start batching your content, that it's a game changer. Like when you sit down, like let's say your goal is to post 3 times a week. Well, that's only 12 posts a month. So if you can sit down for like an hour or 2, write out all your ideas, write like what type of post it's going to be, whether this is going to be a carousel, this is going to be a reel, this is going to be a static image post, and then just start like chipping away at creating them, whether it's right then or whether it's as you go throughout your week, and then writing the captions and all that. Like, starting out is hard. I'll say that. It's not going to be like, okay, I sit down and make all this content, I schedule it out the first time I do it. No. It takes time to get that efficient at it, and I've been doing this for years. So it has definitely taken me time to get to that level of efficiency. So just the more you can practice batching and doing stuff like that, the more it'll come. Anybody else? Good questions. There is no typical day for me. She's in daycare 3 days a week, so I try to just get as much done as possible those 3 days. But yeah, I wish I could tell you like a routine. There's no like, every week is different for me. Every day is different for me, and it takes a lot of time management skill, and not just beyond the social media, but actually doing other tasks too. But I do prioritize social media, because it's not just social media. I'm not just like on there scrolling and like consuming the information. I'm putting out a lot of information, and that's how people find me. That's why people find out about the Nashville Fit Show. That's how people find me for posing coaching. Like, that is my marketing. And it's great that we have a free tool that we can use for marketing that we don't have to spend money on. So I really prioritize it, but every week looks different. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So a lot of experimentation. You can also, there's online search engines where you can find some. My general rule of thumb is Nashville Fitness is a very broad one, right? It probably has been used a million times. You always want to do a mixture of ones that have been used a lot like that, because the chances of you getting seen are not very good on that. You want to use a couple in that range, a couple in the medium range that have been fairly popular, but not as popular, and then some you just still want to use just very, the opposite of generic, very specific to you. But it just takes a lot of experimentation. So now Instagram has the rule where you can only put up to 5 hashtags in your caption, which do that, but then you can also put some in the content or in the comments. So, and it's just a lot of experimenting to figure out, well, does 5 work better for me, or 15 or 30, up to 30? That's a lot. I never use 30 hashtags. That's just too much for me. But usually 5 to 10, it usually works good for me. But I just recommend trying a bunch, trying a different number of hashtags, trying different ones from very specific to very broad. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Go ahead. Block. So I haven't gotten any in so long that actually leave comments. I can't remember what I did. I usually would just block them because I don't want them commenting, but it's also engagement. It also counts towards your engagement. So they'll eventually weed themselves out, but at first, yeah, it's just, I would say that's just going to be a personal decision on whether you want to leave it or not. That's funny. Well, if you guys have any other questions, you can email me, whitney@wiser.fit. Probably can't see it up there, but then you can always DM me on Instagram. So @WiserPrep, @WhitneyWiserFit, @Nashville Fit Show. Any of my social media pages, you can message me anytime. All right. Thank you, guys.